There's a lie, beautifully packaged, sold to the masses, dressed up in glitter and slogans. A lie that whispers in the ears of the dreamer, you just need motivation. That if you watch the right video, hear the right quote, follow the right guru, your life will ignite like dry kindling touched by fire. But the truth? Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the firewood. And if all you chase are sparks, you'll spend your whole life waiting for lightning, while disciplined men are out building empires, stacking bricks in silence. Let me tell you something that might sound harsh, but will set you free. Motivation feels good. Discipline does good. Motivation dances with emotion. Discipline marries responsibility. Motivation gets you started on Monday morning. Discipline gets you through Thursday night. You want to build a life worth remembering? Then stop asking for feelings and start demanding habits. Because the universe doesn't respond to your excitement. It responds to your execution. Discipline is greater than the mood you're in. Every morning your alarm goes off. And in that first second, your entire destiny trembles in the balance. Because in that moment, you are at war not with the clock, not with your schedule, but with yourself. The soft self wants more sleep, more comfort, more excuses. The higher self wants the rise, the stretch, the motion toward greatness. Motivation waits for the right mood. Discipline ignores it. You think Olympic athletes feel like training every day? You think CEOs feel like solving problems at 10 p.m.? You think warriors wait until they're inspired before they show up to the battle? No. They act in spite of their moods. Because success does not ask how you feel it. Asks what you're willing to do, regardless. Discipline is when your values overpower your feelings, when your mission outweighs your emotions. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a mindset. One drifts with the wind. The other plants its feet in the dirt and refuses to move. Discipline pays daily. Motivation pays occasionally. Let me ask you, how often do you feel truly motivated? A few times a week? Once a month? On January honest? Good luck building a legacy on that. But discipline pays every single day, even on the rainy days, especially on the rainy days. When you act disciplined, your life compounds, your skills compound, your confidence compounds, your reputation compounds. You become the person others can trust, not because you're loud, but because you're consistent. That's what the marketplace rewards. That's what relationships crave. That's what inner peace requires. The disciplined man becomes his own bank. His habits pay him interest. His character becomes collateral. Because when discipline becomes your lifestyle, success is no longer a fluke, it's a pattern. Discipline builds identity. Motivation builds illusions. Motivation is an illusion factory. It lets you imagine the life you want without ever earning it. It lets you live in dreams. It lets you fantasize. But discipline is a sculptor. Every time you follow through when it's hard, every time you do the work without applause, you chisel away the weak and uncover the strong. And little by little, brick by brick, you stop being someone who wants to change and you become someone who has changed. You don't just run, you become a runner. You don't just write, you become a writer. You don't just show up, you become unstoppable. Because discipline carves identity out of repetition. And once you know who you are, you don't need to be motivated anymore, you just act. A lion doesn't need motivation to hunt. It hunts because it's a lion. So who are you becoming? What are your habits revealing? What do your patterns preach when no one is watching? You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your disciplines. Discipline is pain now, power later. Motivation is pleasure now, regret later. Every great thing has a price. But here's the hidden math of life. Discipline costs pennies in the present and pays fortunes in the future. Motivation spends dollars on dopamine and leaves you broke on progress. Discipline makes you sweat today so you can rest tomorrow. Motivation makes you comfortable now and steals your future peace. See, the disciplined man trades momentary pleasure for permanent strength. He chooses the hard conversation over silent resentment. He chooses the workout over the excuse. He chooses the budget over impulse because he understands every choice is a vote for your future. Motivation asks, what feels good now? Discipline asks, what builds my destiny? And that's why discipline, though it may sting in the moment, pays dividends in power, peace, and purpose. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret is forever. Discipline makes you dangerous. There is a kind of man who walks into a room and people feel it not because he's loud, but because he's grounded. Disciplined men are dangerous not in the reckless way, but in the deeply controlled way, because they've mastered themselves. And when you master yourself, no one can master you. You become immune to distraction, unshaken by chaos, anchored in purpose. You don't react, you respond. You don't perform for applause, you perform for excellence. This is the kind of man women respect, children admire, friends trust, and enemies fear. Because he doesn't need validation, he is validation. Discipline is the forge of kings. It is the steel backbone beneath every movement that lasts. Discipline is commitment in action, not just intention and thought. Everyone has good intentions. Everyone has plans. Everyone has that "I'll start tomorrow" echoing in their heads. But intentions don't make you rich. Intentions don't give you health. Intentions don't rescue your life from mediocrity. You know it, I know it. The difference is never what you write in your journal, it's what you do when no one's watching. Discipline is commitment made visible. It's the proof of loyalty to your future self. It's the act of showing up after the excitement has left. When the honeymoon is over and life asks, do you still mean it? Discipline is the only answer that counts. Discipline frees you from the chains of emotion. Emotions are wild companions. They swing you up and crash you down. They seduce you with comfort and betray you with delay. And if you live by how you feel, you become a puppet on strings you don't control. But the disciplined person, he walks with emotions, but he is not led by them. He doesn't deny the storm, but he doesn't cancel the journey because of the rain. Discipline is when your soul becomes the captain and your feelings become passengers. And real freedom? It's not doing whatever you want, it's doing what you must, especially when you don't want to. Discipline creates momentum. Motivation creates moments. Have you noticed? Motivation gives you little spikes, moments of power, bursts of clarity, but then it fades. And every time you stop, you have to start all over again. That's exhausting. But discipline builds momentum. It stacks. It snowballs. Each day you show up adds weight to your character. And eventually, momentum becomes identity. When you stop needing to get motivated and you just move. You don't lift because you're excited. You lift because you don't skip days. You don't save because you're scared. You save because that's who you are. Discipline turns the grind into grace, the repetition into rhythm. And soon, the mountain isn't so steep. The climb becomes automatic. The man becomes unstoppable. Discipline makes you trust yourself. Confidence isn't magic, it's math. It's keeping promises to yourself until your brain starts believing, when I say it, I mean it. Most people don't have low confidence, they have low follow-through. And your self-esteem? It's the scoreboard of your self-discipline. The more you flake on yourself, the more your brain whispers, you don't really mean it. But every time you follow through every rep, every chapter, every early wake-up, you earn back trust. Brick by brick, day by day, you become the kind of person you respect. That's what confidence really is. Not arrogance, not noise, just internal proof. Quiet conviction that you can count on you. Discipline makes you resilient when life hits back. Because life will hit. Not once, not twice, but again and again. When you least expect it, your plans will fall apart. People will disappoint you. The timing will be wrong. And motivation runs when adversity shows up. It flees. But discipline Discipline plants its feet, grits its teeth, and keeps walking. Discipline says, I didn't come this far just to come this far. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It creates results under pressure. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. The amateur quits when it's hard. The professional pushes because it's hard. And every blow life lands, discipline turns it into strength. Discipline makes you quietly powerful. Not loud, not flashy, just undeniable. The world today is noise, everyone posting, everyone talking, everyone shouting. But the disciplined man doesn't need to scream, he just shows up every day and lets the results speak. He doesn't chase applause, he chases improvement. And that kind of power, that quiet, patient, unshakable power, that's the kind of man who bends the world without needing to brag about it. That's the kind of woman who builds a kingdom behind closed doors and lets the light shine through the cracks. Discipline doesn't decorate, it delivers. Discipline outlasts all external motivation. You won't always have cheerleaders. You won't always have support. There will be seasons when nobody claps, no one texts, no one sees the work you're doing. That's where most people stop. But discipline is loyal to the goal, not the attention. It works in the dark so that one day the light won't feel like a spotlight, it'll feel like a sunrise. You must train yourself to move without applause, to act without approval, to execute in silence until results make the noise. That's why discipline will always outlast motivation, because motivation needs a crowd. Discipline is the crowd. Discipline is the ultimate self-respect. You cannot claim to love yourself while constantly breaking your own promises. You cannot talk about your dreams, your future, your greatness, and yet treat your daily habits like they don't matter. Because the way you do one thing is how you do everything. And every time you snooze the alarm, skip the reps, spend what you don't have or speak what you don't live, you send a message to yourself, my future is not worth it. But every time you stay consistent, every time you stay loyal to your vision, you're saying, I matter. My future matters. My word matters. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It's the act of protecting your potential, not just dreaming about it. Discipline transcends hype culture. We live in a world addicted to instant wins. Click, swipe, dopamine, repeat. But greatness is not a microwave meal. It's a slow-cooked, pressure-forged, tested by fire creation. Motivation sells shortcuts. Discipline lives in the long game. While others chase secrets, you chase reps. While others chase applause, you chase precision. Because you understand something they don't. You're not building hype. You're building legacy. And legacy is never built in publicity. It's built in the dark, in the quiet hours, when the only audience is your own conscience. Discipline keeps you from starting over every year. Most people live on a loop. They start in January, quit in February, drift through March, regret in December, and then repeat the same emotional roller coaster the next year. But discipline breaks the loop. Discipline creates linear growth, not explosive, not loud, but unshakable. The kind of progress that stacks quietly until one day the world calls it overnight success. But it wasn't overnight. It was years of choosing pain over comfort, mission over mood, vision over distraction. Discipline is the compound interest of progress. It starts slow but ends unbeatable. Discipline is not about rigidity, it's about liberation. The undisciplined think freedom is doing whatever they want. But that's not freedom. That's addiction with a better PR team. Real freedom is not the ability to do what you want. It's the power to do what's right, even when you don't want to. Discipline is not about chaining yourself to tasks. It's about unchaining yourself from weakness. It's not prison, it's precision. It's not self-denial, it's self-command. Discipline doesn't shrink your life, it sharpens it. It cuts through the noise. It aligns your actions with your values, your time with your calling, your energy with your purpose. Discipline is not your enemy, it's your emancipation. Discipline is what the future pays you for. The future is always watching. It's watching how you live today. And one day, it will pay you exactly what you've earned, nothing more, nothing less. It won't care what you meant to do. It won't care how excited you were in that seminar or what your vision board looked like. It will care about one thing. Did you show up day in, day out? When it was boring, when it was painful, when no one cared, discipline is the currency of the future. You deposit now, you collect later. And what you collect will shock the undisciplined who thought you were just obsessed. But obsession is what lazy people call discipline they don't understand. Discipline turns ordinary lives into masterpieces. Not every life starts with a silver spoon. Not every story starts with privilege. But every life, no matter where it begins, can become extraordinary with discipline, because discipline makes you a steward of your time, your body, your mind, your soul. It makes you a craftsman, a builder, a warrior. And over time, one brick, one habit, one day stacked upon the next, you transform what was once just potential into power, into impact, into legacy. Discipline does not ask where you started. It only asks if you're willing to start now, because greatness does not depend on where you came from, only on how long you're willing to keep going. Discipline is the gateway to mastery. Nobody becomes great on talent alone. The world is full of gifted people who never fulfilled their promise. Not because they weren't good, but because they weren't disciplined. Discipline is the bridge between skill and mastery. It's the reason some artists become legends, while others vanish. It's why one entrepreneur builds generational wealth, while another folds within a year. Discipline is showing up when inspiration is gone. It's doing one more hour after the talent runs dry. It's pushing the boundaries of your craft until it obeys your command. You want to become a master? Then love the repetition. Fall in love with doing it again. Obsess over the smallest detail until excellence becomes your signature. Discipline takes potential and makes it undeniable. Discipline doesn't wait for motivation, it creates it. People think motivation is what gets you moving, but discipline is the thing that builds motivation. Because once you start doing the work, especially when you don't want to, strange thing happens. Confidence rises, energy appears, belief is reborn, action fuels emotion, progress creates passion. And the very thing you didn't feel like doing becomes the source of your fire. Motivation is the child of momentum and discipline is its parent. So don't wait to feel right before you act. Act and you will start to feel right. Discipline is the only shortcut that exists. Everyone's looking for hacks, for cheat codes, for 7-day transformations and 3-step miracles. But the truth is, discipline is the shortcut. Because while others waste time chasing easier, you're doing the work. While they pivot from scheme to scheme, you're getting better, more focused, more precise. Every day you show up is a day you move ahead of those who wait. And over time, you become untouchable. Discipline is the edge. It's what makes the average dangerous and the good unstoppable. While the world is distracted, the disciplined are building empires in silence. Discipline protects you from burnout. Motivation burns fast and bright, but it dies quick. And when it's gone, people think they're burnt out. But often, what they're feeling isn't burnout, it's inconsistency, fatigue. They start and stop so much they never build rhythm, never build stamina. Discipline solves that. Because discipline is sustainable. It paces you. It focuses you. It removes the mental drain of deciding every day, should I or shouldn't I? You just do. And in that steadiness, you find energy. You find flow. You find endurance. Burnout doesn't come from hard work. It comes from disorganized effort and lack of purpose. Discipline gives you both. Discipline makes your word matter. In a world where people say things they don't mean and make promises they never intend to keep, discipline is rare and powerful. Because when you are disciplined, your word becomes currency. People trust you. Opportunities find you. Respect follows you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. You become someone others can depend on. Someone you can depend on. That's rare. And when your word means something, you walk differently, you negotiate differently, you live differently. Discipline doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. Discipline builds a mind that doesn't flinch. This world is noisy. It pulls, it tempts, it overwhelms. Most people crack, they panic, they escape. But a disciplined mind, it doesn't flinch. It doesn't fold. It filters out the noise and focuses on what matters. It doesn't chase every shiny object. It locks in. It sees chaos and becomes calm. It sees distraction and becomes more deliberate. Because discipline doesn't just train the body, it trains the mind to think clearly when others are consumed. The man with a disciplined mind is dangerous not because he knows everything, but because he's not owned by anything. Discipline turns pressure into precision. Life puts weight on you, the deadlines, the expectations, the silence, the unknown. And most people crack under it. They see pressure as a threat. But discipline transforms pressure into focus, into refinement, into surgical attention. The disciplined man doesn't panic under load. He sharpens under it. He doesn't just survive the pressure, he gets better because of it. Because he understands pressure isn't the enemy, it's the proof you're growing. Diamonds are not made in a breeze, they're made in heat. And every time discipline keeps you calm, composed, and committed under pressure, you prove you are becoming a diamond. Discipline builds habits that don't need permission. Most people negotiate with their weakness. They ask themselves how they feel, whether they want to today, whether it's worth it. But the disciplined, they don't negotiate. They decide once and then act on it 1,000 times. They automate greatness. It's no longer, should I work out today? It's, this is what I do. No longer, should I read or study? It's, this is who I am. Discipline isn't about arguing with your excuse, it's about ignoring them entirely. You show up, period. You do the work, period. And your results, they begin to show up without asking for permission either. Discipline makes time your ally, not your enemy. Undisciplined people are always rushing, always behind, always late on dreams, late on promises, late on life. But discipline creates margin. It gives structure to the chaos. It makes time your servant, not your master. While others waste time, the disciplined invest it. And like money, those investments compound. 1 hour becomes 10. One decision becomes a decade of impact. That's why the disciplines seem to age into greatness, because while others were floating, they were building. And now, time rewards them. Not with luck, not with lottery, but with legacy. Discipline prepares you for moments that count. There will come a moment in your life, a moment that will matter more than the others. A decision, a test, an opportunity. And in that moment, you will either rise or regret. You will either meet the moment or mourn it forever. Discipline ensures that when that moment comes, you are ready, not scrambling, not hoping, prepared. Because you've rehearsed excellence 1,000 times in silence. You've trained when no one was looking. And when life suddenly shines its light on you, you don't shrink. You step forward. The disciplined are not lucky, they are ready. Discipline makes you a builder of the invisible. Most of what matters in life isn't seen. Character, integrity, patience, grit, faith, and discipline is what builds these things. It is the daily stacking of unseen bricks, forming a fortress that cannot be broken from the outside. You may not go viral, you may not trend, but when the storms come, you will still be standy because you built something the world cannot cancel. Depth. Discipline doesn't chase the camera. It builds the cathedral. Discipline makes the mundane meaningful. Life isn't made of massive moments, it's made of tiny ones. Repeated, stacked, compounded. And the undisciplined treat these moments as boring. But the disciplined, they find meaning in the repetition, they find power in routine, they find depth in the details. And that's why their life looks different, not because they had better luck, but because they had better habits. They found glory in what others overlook. They mastered the basics until the basics made them masters. Discipline is the foundation of all other virtues. You can't be truly courageous if you don't have discipline, because you'll quit when fear shows up. You can't have integrity without discipline because temptation never stops knocking. You can't be wise without discipline because wisdom requires restraint. Every noble trait, every admirable quality, every leadership principle is rooted in discipline. It's the root, the structure, the spine. Without it, everything collapses. With it, everything becomes possible. When all the noise fades, when the trends die out, when the fads collapse, when the excitement runs dry, what remains? Not the loudest, not the flashiest, not the most motivated. The ones who endure, the builders, the quiet giants, the ones who kept showing up when nobody watched, when nobody clapped, when nobody cared, and because they kept showing up now, the world cares. That's the final truth. Motivation is the beginning of many. Discipline is the finisher of few. Anyone can be excited on day one. But it takes a different kind of human to still be there on day one. Thousands stronger, sharper, quieter, but unmistakably present. This world doesn't need more hype. It needs more backbone. It needs people who do what they said they would do. It needs warriors who get up without a crowd. It needs leaders who build in silence and let the results roar. Discipline is not the loudest voice, but it is the last one standing. And that voice, the voice that refuses to quit, that keeps its promises, that honors the craft, even when no one is clapping, that voice will echo through every room it enters. That voice will be remembered long after motivation is burned out. So build it now, quietly, daily, relentlessly. Because when motivation runs dry and discipline will carry you. And when the race is long, and it will, but discipline will keep your legs moving. And when the world says, stop, and discipline will be the whisper that says, we don't stop, we rise. This is not just a message. This is a code. This is a contract between your present and your future. Sign it in sweat. Sign it in focus. Sign it with the life you build every single day. And when they ask years from now, how did you do it? You won't say, I was motivated. You'll look them in the eye with quiet fire in your soul and you'll say, I was disciplined.